Please like, comment, and subscribe.
We have developed like certain terms in lingo that when we're working in this field, we understand, but it sounds quite foreign to other people. But it is a challenge that the human languages are not really there yet. They will be. Um, just when we're talking about energy, many people, especially from science, say, oh, you can't talk about energy because, like, what energy is from a scientific point of view that has been defined. But my answer to that is that a word can have many different meanings. We've seen that many times that a term has been used to describe different things. And the reason why often we talk about energy is because it feels like something plasmatic that we can sense and that does something, that there is an exchange, there's something that is moving, that is not matter. And we can identify it and we can sense it. So what words should we be using, And we differentiate also between vibration and energy, because energy is actually a state of matter. Matter and energy is the same thing, it's just different states of it. So energy is actually manifestation. When we talk about vibration, if we think of like sound vibration, that is basically something that then is being moved through matter. So when you listen to something, it's because these sound waves that are basically without sound becomes sound when it vibrates through something. So a loudspeaker, for instance, they have membranes that vibrate and then create the sound. So sound waves are basically just like code. It is a vibration, and it becomes sound when something starts to vibrate. So we use the term vibration when it comes to the code, that which is behind everything that manifests. And energy is when it has become manifest. So energy can turn into matter. Energy is part of this whole complex of, energy, matter, time, space, all of that. But vibration is outside of it. And again, how we use vibration is slightly different from science, at least now, but it is the closest we can get to talking about that code. We also talk about signature. Now, signature is the easy way to explain this is that it's your spiritual DNA. If you understand that you exist as Atma, as soul, and that is what you truly are, and that exists outside of manifestation, outside all of creation. So if you can imagine that you as soul exist in a state where there is absolutely nothing, it's the complete nothingness, and therefore the complete allness. But in that state, you're not able to experience anything because there's no space. There's no nothing, so there's nothing to be experienced, including yourself. There's pure isness. So, how we explain this in a model for people to understand is if you think in a timeline, before you start incarnating as soul, as Atma, you exist in this state, which means you have absolutely no idea about anything. And you exist in oneness, in the complete allness, but you have no idea what that means because you can't experience it. And all creation, all the different dimensions, all the different forms and incarnations are simply there to allow for you to experience yourself and the state of consciousness you're in. And the difference between that consciousness and what reality actually is. And through each expression in lifetime, you will always be mirrored. Everything you are, everything you believe, everything you think will be mirrored. And that difference between what you believe and what is, that is what we call karma. It's very simple. It's simply the difference between your state of consciousness and what actually is. And this whole existence is about this long journey where we gradually, as spirit, diminish and like shrink and dissolve this difference between our own state of consciousness and life and what is. And that's also the expansion of consciousness. It's the ability to accept and allow and become more and more of what is. Because when you have an idea and a story about something, you cannot include it in your consciousness because your story is not true. You can only become in harmony with something when you actually allow it, when you actually understand it fully. And you do so by interacting with it. Just like kids, we have to taste it, touch it, interact with it to understand it. And spiritually, we're doing the same thing. And this is what we're doing through all our expressions and lifetimes. Basically, go around and touch everything in the universe, trying to figure out what it is and how it differs from what we believed. And when we do that, we expand. So this is a very natural, organic process. And this is evolution. It's nothing mystical about it. It's completely natural. But when you, as what we call Atma, kind of enters this whole realm of creation, you kind of turn into math. Everything in existence is math and expressions of math. So, if you can think of yourself and what you are as a soul becoming like a code. This is what we call your signature, which then contains all the kind of information about what you are and your consciousness. And that becomes kind of the mathematical expression or code of what you are spiritually. And that is what is flowing through your different expressions in lifetimes. I will not be talking too much about this because I talk a lot about this in other settings, but signature then will cause vibration, and vibration will cause energy. So it's this gradual movement from what you are into this manifested reality so that you can play with it and explore it. And just like children, we have to play. Children learn by putting things in their mouth, by touching, by having no respect for anything really. And that's how they learn. And we need to be the same because there is nothing in the universe that is dangerous. It's all about the exploration of who we are and what is. And we need to be playful. Our religions have taught us to be fearful. And remember that fear has been an important part of evolution, because if we go back in time, there were plenty of things to be, scared about. Animals, insects, plants. If you got sick, you could die, and you did. So you could basically be killed several times every day. And you had to be scared. You needed fear to survive. It's been one of the most successful aspects of survival, and all life forms have fear because it helps survival. So it's logical that when we started to relate to life outside of ourselves, as humans started to develop consciousness, that we invented religions. And fear was a big part of it, because why would we need gods? to protect us from everything that was dangerous, you know? And that was the mindset. Because, again, we couldn't heal our injuries or illnesses. And we could get killed every day, so we needed help. So, and because one would think that everything in nature was beings, there had to be beings in control of everything, and then they had to help us, and then we had to figure out how to make them help us by giving them sacrifices or doing things to keep them on our side. You know, it's a logical way of thinking. But it also meant that our relationship to gods was based on fear. And it has stayed on. So when you look at religions, they're all about fear. They claim it's about love, but it's really about fear. And what you need to do to make sure that that God will protect you from everything evil and dangerous, which of course means submission, that you have to force yourself to do things you really don't want to. It's that whole thing, but it's a trade, because you have to show yourself worthy of the protection. It's logical when you think about it. But we don't need that anymore. But even when it comes to freer expression of spirituality and self-growth work, most people still have that fear that you're not allowed to. What if you do something wrong? What if it's really dangerous? It's ingrained in our culture, even in our DNA at this point. And the idea that you can reach a higher level of consciousness simply by playing and goofing around goes against what most of you have been told, because it's supposed to be, hard work and suffering and sacrifice, and then someone will judge you and, tell you if you're good enough. It's all of that. It's not how it works. There's only support. There's only love. There's only healing. It's you guys who, do all the self-injuries, but from a spiritual point of view, it's only about that unfoldment and that growth and that joy. And you're closer to that when you just goof around and when you don't take life seriously and when you don't take yourself seriously. And communication is fun. It's just like sharing yourself. Don't take it too seriously. And understand that, as I said, whenever you give love, everybody wants to talk. And it's not like you need to receive a message, grow out of that. It's just like all beings in the same enormous universe exchanging and supporting each other and growth. And all life forms are playing, even trees, even insects and rocks. And there's a book that came out recently by a Dutch guy. I don't remember his name now, but it's about the emotions of animals. And it's interesting when I read reviews of the book that, it's such a surprise that humans have, emotions and that they can display them just like humans. But that's why a book like that is important. And he has shown that, rats laugh. They have a sense of humor. And they've been doing experiments showing that, animals have a sense of humor, which means to have a sense of humor, you need a sense of abstract thinking. Because being able to laugh at something means that you're able to see it in a context. And when something is out of context, that's why we laugh. So, science have been able now to show that different life forms are just like us. And they have fun. They play. And we should too. Our culture is far too serious and far too pompous, and grow out of it. To me, it's got no place in modern spirituality. We have to free ourselves from everything and embrace who we truly are. Grow out of the old story of what it means to be human and redefine it based on the discovery of everything that is available to us and what's actually inside of us. And this is what we are doing. This is a huge part of my work, is to assist people in opening up and discover everything that is available to us. And again, redefine the human journey so that we can start relating to life for real, and that we can understand what and who we are for real. Humans are using so little of their potential because they're stuck in old belief systems, stuck in fear, and there's no need for that anymore.